There are things in life that we keep because we forget, and others that we keep because we're afraid to remember. For Helena, that boxed-up box at the back of the wardrobe represented both of them. For 40 years she pretended the box didn't exist, and during all that time the box pretended not to call for her. But it did. And now, at 72, sitting on the bed where she slept half her life alone, she finally decided to open what her husband had left behind before disappearing without explanation. When Joachim passed away, she was only 32 years old. He left to take care of something downtown and didn't return. There was no letter. There was no body. There was no goodbye. In the first few weeks, Helena believed something serious had happened. In the first few months, she thought he might be injured in some hospital, suffering from amnesia, lost. In the first few years, she still dreamed that he would open the gate, with that slightly crooked smile that always appeared when he had some good news to tell. But time is cold. It passes, wears down, erases expectations, transforms pain into silence. The box remained there throughout all of this. At first, she thought it was something from his work, perhaps documents, mementos from his teaching days. The box was made of dark wood, with a rusty metal latch. It had no name, no label, nothing. Just a small mark in the corner. An R engraved as if someone had pressed a hot iron into the wood. Helena never understood that. That morning, however, something changed. She got out of bed with a strange feeling, as if someone had whispered in her ear during the night. It was a short phrase, but repeated so many times that it seemed to echo inside the room. It's time. She took a deep breath, walked slowly to the closet, and opened the doors, creaking as always. She moved clothes, pushed shoeboxes aside, lifted an old blanket. The box was there, exactly where it always had been. It wasn't dusty. That startled her. She hadn't cleaned it in years. Carefully, she picked up the box in her arms. It was lighter than she had imagined. Helena's heart beat as fast as when she was 20 years old. Her hands trembled. She placed the box on her lap, sat on the bed, and, for the first time since Joachim had disappeared, looked at it without trying to look away. "What did you leave here, Joachim?" he murmured. The lock was tight. She had to force it with an old knife until she heard a snap. The sound echoed through the room as if it were much louder than it should have been. For a moment, she almost gave up. Some truths only destroy, and she knew that. But after 40 years, the weight of the unknown hurt more than any possible answer. Helena lifted the lid, and everything started to fall apart. Inside the box, there was nothing she had imagined. No clothes, souvenirs, work papers, family photos, nothing like that. The contents were small, simple, and at the same time inexplicable. A thick envelope, yellowed with age, sealed with a red wax seal, and a leather-bound notebook with swollen pages, as if they had been written in the rain. Helena took a deep breath and opened the envelope first. Inside, she found only a letter, written in Joachim's handwriting. The handwriting was his, of that she was absolutely certain. "Helena, if you are reading this, then something I feared has finally happened." She felt her hands grow cold. She continued, "I never wanted to abandon you, but sometimes the truth snatches away our choices. First of all, I need you to forgive me, not for what I did, but for what I hid." Helena brought her hand to her mouth. Her throat tightened. She stopped reading and looked at the box as if it might answer something. When she returned to the letter, her heart was beating so fast it hurt. "There's a part of my life you never knew, and I begged you to keep it that way. But life doesn't respect what we want to hide. I tried to protect you, and maybe I failed." Helena closed her eyes. A tear fell onto the paper, slightly staining the ink. The fear was physical, almost palpable. The letter continued, "The truth is in the notebook. Read it. But know that, after this, nothing will be the same." She remained motionless for long seconds. The silence in the room seemed heavier. Afternoon was approaching, but the sun seemed too weak to penetrate through the window. With trembling hands, she put the letter aside and picked up the notebook. He was tied up with a leather strap. It looked ancient, secret, forbidden. She untied it slowly, as if afraid of waking something that had slept there for decades. When she opened the first page, a shiver ran down her spine. At the top, in large letters, it was written, "The Other Side of Joachim's Life." Helena's eyes widened. She turned the page. And the story that began there was something she could never have imagined. The handwriting on the following pages was Joachim's, but more shaky, heavier, as if each word had been written with effort. Helena ran her hand over the page, feeling the texture of the dried ink, as if she could touch the past with her fingertips. The first paragraph began in a strange way. "Helena, before I met you, I wasn't just a teacher." She frowned. Joachim always said that he started teaching at the age of 20, that it had been his passion since he was young. He never mentioned any other life before that. But the text continued, "For 7 years, I worked for an institution that doesn't officially exist. Our job was to find missing people in situations considered unusual." Helena felt her body grow cold. She continued reading, trying to understand. "I never told you because I didn't want you to know the risks involved, or the secrets, and also because I had to do something 40 years ago that changed everything." Helena frowned. Her heart felt like it was rising to her throat. "That night, before disappearing, I received a letter. It contained only one sentence. We found her. I knew exactly who she was, and that compelled me to leave without saying goodbye." Helena's chest ached at the memory. 40 years without answers. 40 years rebuilding her life alone. But now the explanation was beginning to emerge. She turned the page. The text changed its tone. It was more detailed, darker. "In 1969, long before I met you, I was part of the team that investigated a woman named Rosa Montaldi. She was 24 years old when she disappeared with her newborn son. The police at the time treated the case as a voluntary escape. We knew it wasn't. She vanished under strange circumstances, and she left no trace." Helena placed her hand over her heart. The name Rosa meant nothing to her, but the story did. She felt she was about to touch a secret she shouldn't. "My job was to find out where she had gone. I spent years trying to find her, and I failed, until the night I received the message saying that she had been located." Helena turned the page carefully, as if she were afraid of tearing the paper. The following paragraph began with a sentence that made her fingers tremble. "Helena, Rosa was not a stranger to you." The world seemed to spin. The throat closed up. She continued, "Rosa was his mother." Helena stopped reading. Her eyes welled up with tears. The ground seemed to have disappeared. She had always believed that her mother had died in childbirth. That's what her father told her. That's what everyone in the family repeated. A simple, harsh, but clear truth. But now the notebook was saying something else. She went back to the sentence, read it again, trying to figure out if she had read it wrong. "I didn't have it. Your mother disappeared with you in her arms. You were only 4 days old." Helena brought her hand to her mouth, her breath short. Why would your father lie? Why did Joachim know this and she didn't? She continued reading, even though her vision was blurred by tears. "When you were found, you were wrapped in a blue cloth, left at the door of a rural hospital. Your father came to get you there, saying he had managed to find you. The truth is that no one ever knew what happened to Rosa in the 4 days between her disappearance and her reappearance." Helena felt her stomach churn. Why was Joachim bringing this now? She turned the page. And then the reading became even more disturbing. "The institution I worked for discovered that Rosa had last been seen in a neighboring town, around the same time you were born. And, Helena, I discovered something terrible. The reason for her disappearance was never revealed. She was running away because she believed someone wanted to take her daughter away from her." Helena rested the notebook on her legs. His hands were shaking so much he almost dropped them. She read the following sentence. "She used to say that the child, you, was too important." Helena closed her eyes, trying to absorb the impact. She wasn't important. She was an ordinary woman who lived a simple life, worked, loved, and suffered. She was nothing special. She never was. But the notebook persisted. After years of research, the institution concluded that Rosa wasn't running away from one person. She was running away from a group. Helena's eyes widened. Which group? Was it a kidnapping? A cult? A cult? She turned the page, unable to wait. The group believed that certain children were born marked. I never accepted that term. It was superstition or madness. But they believed that some children had prophetic importance. Helena almost laughed, but not out of humor. She laughed nervously, out of disbelief. That was absurd. But at the same time, why would Joachim disappear because of that? She continued reading. One of the marks was the birthmark on his left wrist. Helena felt her body grow cold. The left wrist. Hers. She raised her arm slowly. There it was, the small brown spot, almost a tiny, irregular circle. He always thought it was ordinary, a meaningless mark. She ran her finger over the mark, feeling the weight of a truth she never imagined she would carry. He went back to his notebook. When I learned that they had found Rosa, I understood that you were in danger again, and that's why I had to go. That night, Helena, I abandoned you because I was going to save your life. Helena squeezed her eyes shut, but tears still escaped. 40 years. 40 years believing she had been abandoned. 40 years carrying guilt, anger, loneliness. And now, this? She turned the page with difficulty, her hands trembling. The next sentence made her heart stop for a moment. I found Rosa. Helena didn't breathe. She continued, but not as I expected. The air left her lungs as if something had hit her. She was dead. Helena put her hand to her chest, gasping for air. My vision blurred. A deep, ancient pain was born there, even without having known her mother. It was an instinctive, visceral pain. She read the rest of the sentence. And she left something for me before she died. Helena felt tears rolling down her chin. The following page was written entirely in quick, desperate letters, as if Joachim had written it in haste or fear. She asked me to protect you. She said the group never forgot you. She said they would come back. Helena swallowed hard. His breath became short. She turned the page, almost tearing it open. The following sentence appeared to have been written with a trembling hand. Helena, they're back. The room seemed to shrink around her. The air got colder. The weight on my chest increased. She turned another page. And in the center there was a sentence written all by itself. They came looking for you the night I disappeared. Helena dropped the notebook in her lap. He felt his whole body tingling. The silence in the house felt different. She looked at the bedroom door. For a moment, he thought he heard footsteps in the hallway. But that was impossible. I was alone. It always has been. He took a deep breath and went back to his notebook. On the final page, there were only 3 sentences, written with such force that they almost tore the paper. I didn't run away from you. I ran away with them chasing me. If you're reading this, they might be coming back. Helena stood motionless. Something inside her, something deep, ancient, awakened, an intuition she had never felt before. And then she heard. This time it wasn't my imagination. A creaking sound coming from the living room. Someone was there. And it wasn't her. The sound coming from the room was so clear it cut through the air. It wasn't the typical creaking of the old wood in the house. It was a footstep. Slow. Calculated. Helena froze. Her mind tried to find logical explanations. Wind, some furniture moving, maybe the neighbor's cat that sometimes came in through the window. But deep down, very deep down, she knew. That wasn't wind, and even less so a cat. The notebook was still open on her lap, displaying the last sentence Joachim had written. If you're reading this, they might be coming back. Helena took a deep breath, her chest rising and falling rapidly. At 72, her body no longer responded with the agility it once did. But fear had a strange effect. It restored strength where there was none left. The bedroom door was ajar. Through the crack, she could only see the dark hallway. Another step. Closer. Her heart was pounding so hard it seemed to echo throughout the entire room. She looked around. There was no weapon, nothing to defend herself with. And even if there were, what would she do? Against whom? Against what? For 40 years she had lived as an ordinary person. Now she discovered that her own existence carried a secret she never asked for. A secret that dangerous people had spent decades trying to obtain. Another step. Heavier. Closer. Helena held the notebook against her chest, as if it could protect something from her. That's when something unexpected happened. A small envelope slipped out from inside the notebook cover and fell to the floor, sliding until it stopped near her feet. She didn't remember seeing it before. With trembling hands, she bent down and picked it up. The envelope contained only one handwritten sentence. "Open it only if they can find you." Helena felt a chill down her spine. The "they" mentioned there seemed to be the same as in the notebook. The same group that persecuted her mother. The same group that made Joachim disappear. The doorknob creaked. Helena gasped for air, choking. She tore open the envelope desperately. Inside, there was only an address. Written hastily. No details. Just the name of a small town, a few hours away, and a number. Street 11, House 8. And one last sentence. "Go. Now." Fear turned to action. In that same instant, Helena jumped out of bed with a speed she hadn't used in years. She put the notebook in a bag, stuffed the envelope in her blouse pocket, and went to the bedroom window. She slowly opened the curtain. Outside, the street seemed normal, silent, empty. But normal isn't always true. A new sound echoed behind her. This time, a breath. Helena turned slowly. The door was now wide open, and in the hallway, standing in the shadows, there was someone. Or something. The silhouette was tall, motionless, as if waiting only for her to take the first step. Her heart raced in a way that felt like pain. Her whole body trembled. There was no visible face. Only the certainty, the absolute certainty, that this presence was not a thief, not a neighbor, not anyone from this world she knew. Fear almost paralyzed her. But then something inside her awakened. Perhaps it was instinct. Perhaps it was memory. Perhaps it was the blood of her mother who fought to protect her. Perhaps it was Joachim's voice echoing inside the box that had remained closed for 40 years. Helena took a deep breath and made a decision. She ran. She didn't think. She didn't look back. She crossed the room, opened the window, and jumped. She landed in the yard in pain, but her legs still obeyed. She got up and ran to the gate, tripping on the tall grass that the neighbor's son hadn't cut in weeks. Behind her, something moved inside the house. Helena didn't wait to see what. When she reached the street, she kept running, clutching her bag to her chest. Tears were already streaming down her face, but she didn't know if it was fear, pain, or the overwhelming feeling that her entire life had been a lie. She ran to the corner, where a taxi always passed by in the late afternoon. It was almost routine. It was almost destiny. The taxi arrived. Helena raised her hand. He stopped. She got into the back, still panting. "Are you all right, ma'am?" the driver asked, sounding surprised. Her voice barely came out. "Take me to that city," she said, showing the envelope. "It's urgent." The driver glanced quickly. He nodded. "Okay, let's go." As the car began to move, Helena looked out the window. Her house was left behind, small and silent. But the feeling was clear. She was no longer alone, and perhaps it never had been. All the way, she kept her bag pressed against her chest. The notebook was warm, as if it had a life of its own. The address on the envelope seemed to pulsate. Each kilometer traveled was a mixture of fear and hope. Hope of finding answers, of understanding what really happened to her mother, and hope that Joachim was alive somewhere. Because now everything made sense. He hadn't run away from her. He had run away for her. When the taxi finally pulled into the designated town, Helena looked out the window. It was a small, peaceful place with narrow streets and old houses. But there was something strange in the air, as if everyone there carried a secret they didn't dare tell. "Street 11?" the driver asked. "Yes. House 8, Helena replied in a low voice. The car moved forward. 11th Street was almost deserted. The houses were all identical except for one, house number 8, a light-colored wooden house with closed windows and a completely neglected garden. The driver parked. "Are you sure?" he asked. Helena swallowed hard. "I have." She got out of the car. Her legs trembled, but she kept walking. Each step seemed too alert, too focused. The silence was heavy. As he got closer to the door, he noticed something. It was slightly open, as if someone had left it like that on purpose. Helena took a breath and pushed slowly. The door creaked. The interior of the house was dark, lit only by a window at the back. The air smelled of old wood. And, in the center of the room, there was a table. About her, Helena recognized her immediately. It was Joachim's handwriting. A ticket. She walked slowly to the table. She picked up the paper with trembling hands. "Helena, I've been waiting for you." Tears streamed down her face immediately. She turned the ticket over. There was one more sentence. "They will never hurt you as long as I am alive." Her heart raced. Before she could think of anything, she heard footsteps coming from the next hallway. Familiar footsteps. Footsteps she would recognize in any life. She turned around slowly. And there, standing in the doorway of the hallway, Joachim was there. Older, thinner, with gray hair and a tired face. But it was him. The same crooked smile. The same eyes she knew better than her own. Helena brought her hand to her mouth, sobbing. "Joachim?" He smiled. A sad smile. The smile of someone who has carried too much weight for too long. "I never abandoned you, Helena." His voice was the same. "I just never managed to come back. Until now." She took one step, then another. And then she ran to him. The embrace was strong, desperate. As if 40 years had dissolved in a second. Helena cried like a child. Joachim trembled like someone who thought he would never feel that again. But the truth they both knew was simple. The fight was not over. And whatever was coming, now they would face it together. Because, in the end, the box never kept a secret. The box contained a warning. And the warning had just come true.